Sister Wives Gabe and Meri Brown bring fans to tears. The cast of Sister Wives has grown and changed monumentally since the show premiered in 2010. The children grew up, but fans have noticed so much more than that. In particular, viewers recently pointed out Gabe and Meri Brown in particular have come a long way. Read on and see what everyone is buzzing about. Gabe and Meri Brown are finished with Cody's manipulative tactics. Last season on Sister Wives, Gabe brought fans to tears when he revealed Cody had forgotten his birthday. This year, he's demanded his father take accountability for his poor behavior. Gabe told his mother that he had no interest in a relationship with Cody until he accepted responsibility and changed his ways. On top of that, Meri has finally accepted that her relationship with Cody is over. She asked for a release from the church and received it. But what do fans have to say about everything? The amount of growth shown by Meri and Gabe, wow, a Sister Wives fan shared on Reddit recently. You can tell that Gabe has had a lot of therapy and done so much hard work. You can see the tremendous growth in him and how far he has come. I was literally tearing up listening to him talk. So proud of him. And Meri too, wow, it's so striking to me how bitter and angry Cody and Robin are, particularly compared to the peace that so many others have found. That says it all. Other Redditors share their opinions. The Sister Wives Reddit forum is usually full of wide-ranging opinions. But most users seem to agree that these two have grown tremendously over the years. Other comments included, "It's crazy how fast you can heal when you cut the toxic people out of your life. They've been putting in some work. I don't know if Meri has actually been seeing a therapist, but whatever method of reflection and personal work on her self-esteem, etc. I stopped watching during the staged fight. Then all y'all start talking about the Gabe, and now I have to catch up. This human is beautiful inside and out, and I hope he knows his value despite having a turd for a sperm donor. Gabe is so good to listen to. He's so intentional with his words and so very wise about human nature. Such a gracious young man. I hope they are proud of him." As the dust of shattered marriages and fractured family dynamics continued to settle around the Brown family, no one expected the emotional storm that brewed between Gabe and Meri Brown. Gabe, the once carefree, witty, and resilient son of Janelle, was now a young man navigating the complexities of his family's disintegration. Meri, on the other hand, had endured years of isolation within the plural marriage, a position that left her longing for connection. The two shared little more than their last names until one heart-wrenching episode of Sister Wives brought them closer in ways that left fans of the show wiping away tears. It wasn't an obvious relationship to spotlight at first. Gabe had always been closer to his mother Janelle and his siblings, and the wider Brown family had grown accustomed to Meri's distance from the rest of the wives and children. However, the slow unraveling of Cody's plural marriages created cracks in the family structure that revealed deeper connections. Gabe and Meri's emotional moments seemed to come out of nowhere, but for those paying close attention, the seeds had been planted long before. As Cody's relationships with each of his wives deteriorated, most notably with Cristin and Janelle, the Brown children, too, were forced to reckon with the fallout. Gabe, in particular, felt the sting of his father's emotional abandonment. Once a vibrant figure in his father's life, he now found himself more and more estranged from Cody, especially after their tense arguments over the handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. His attempts to communicate his feelings of hurt and rejection were met with indifference, leaving him in a space of anger and confusion. Meri, meanwhile, was living a life of quiet isolation within the family. After her catfishing scandal and years of marital tension with Cody, she became something of an outcast in the family dynamic. Meri struggled to remain relevant in a family that had moved on without her left fans feeling both empathetic and frustrated. She clung to Cody, hoping for reconciliation, but his heart had long since drifted away. For years, it seemed Meri's place within the family had been reduced to nothing more than a distant figure, a wife in name only, with no real connection to the children or other wives. But as the Brown family splintered, Meri found herself interacting with the younger generation in ways she hadn't before. The awkwardness between her and the other wives didn't carry over to the children, who saw her less as a rival and more as an individual navigating her own pain. It was in this backdrop that Gabe and Meri's paths began to cross more frequently. It was a quiet moment during a family gathering that first caught fans' attention. Gabe, visibly emotional, sat off to the side, away from the chaotic laughter and conversations of his siblings. He had been distant lately, his usual humor replaced by a brooding demeanor that worried those close to him. Meri, noticing his isolation, approached him cautiously. She, too, had been on the sidelines for much of the family drama, and perhaps she recognized and gave a reflection of her own struggles. Without much fanfare, she sat beside him. For a few moments, neither of them spoke. Gabe, clearly struggling to maintain his composure, finally let out a deep sigh. Meri, gently and with genuine care in her voice, asked him how he was doing. It was a simple question, but it carried the weight of years of pent-up emotions for both of them. Gabe hesitated at first, but then the floodgates opened. He spoke about the hurt he felt over his father's absence, the rejection that cut deeper than he had anticipated, and the confusion of watching the family he had known his entire life crumble before his eyes. Meri listened, not interrupting, not offering advice, but simply being present in a way that Gabe hadn't experienced in a long time. She, too, knew the pain of being discarded, of loving someone who no longer seemed to care. As Gabe poured his heart out, Meri's eyes welled up with tears. She didn't try to relate her pain to his. It wasn't about making this moment about her. But she empathized with him on a level that transcended their complicated family ties. In that moment, Meri wasn't the outcast first wife or the woman clinging to the hope of rekindling a dead marriage. She was simply someone who understood what it meant to love and lose within the Brown family. The tears that fell from both Gabe and Meri weren't just about their individual grief. They were symbolic of the broader collapse of the plural marriage that had once held so much promise. The audience, watching from their homes, couldn't help but be moved by the raw vulnerability on display. For the first time in a long while, fans saw Meri not as the beleaguered, oft-criticized first wife, but as someone capable of deep empathy, someone who still had a role to play in this fractured family.